On 6 June 1944, Bernard Montgomery stood alone at the door of his caravan, listening to the Channel wind, feeling the weight of the world pressing in. His hands trembled slightly as he lit a cigarette, not from fear of the Germans, but from the burden of command. Montgomery was the face of Britain's army, proud, disciplined, defiant. Yet behind him, just offshore, American ships waited. Those ships carried food, fuel, trucks, and ammunition from Baltimore and New York, a lifeline Britain could no longer replace on its own. In London, Winston Churchill spoke of bulldog resolve to Parliament, to the public, while quietly fearing a collapse if American aid faltered. By 1944, Britain was exhausted, financially, industrially, emotionally, after 6 long years of war. Meanwhile, American factories thundered day and night across Michigan and Pennsylvania, producing what British yards simply could not. Montgomery understood this truth with brutal clarity on the beaches of Normandy. Every tank advance, every push forward, depended on American fuel. Publicly, Britain spoke as an equal ally. Privately, the numbers told a different story. Every crate unloaded at Normandy tightened the bond between armies, deepened the dependency Churchill tried so hard to hide. This was not a weakness of men or morale, but mathematics, calculations of supply and survival. As dawn broke over Normandy, Montgomery exhaled smoke, trusting in an alliance he could not command. Behind him, the British public waited for victory in homes and shelters, unaware of how fragile that promise truly was. The war would be decided by courage and blood on the battlefield, but also by ships, factories, and ledgers. And in that hidden arithmetic, Montgomery's fate and Britain's pride were already quietly written. This story begins here, on the beaches of Normandy, in the summer of invasion, where dependency first became undeniable. By 7 June 1944, the beaches were secured. Yet Montgomery's real battle began far from the gunfire. In field headquarters near Bayou, maps were spread wide while supply officers whispered numbers that shaped every decision. British divisions advanced carefully, not from caution alone, but because fuel limits, dictated by American pipelines, demanded it. The famous Mulberry harbors rose from the sea, engineering miracles. Yes, but built largely with American material. Montgomery pressed for methodical warfare, conserving men and armor, knowing replacements came slowly, if at all, from British factories. Across the Atlantic, President Roosevelt approved shipment after shipment, locomotives, trucks, rations, shells, flowing eastward. Churchill thanked him warmly in letters, full of praise and shared destiny, masking a growing imbalance. Britain's gold reserves were nearly gone, its merchant fleet battered, its industrial base stretched to the breaking point. Every British tank rolling through Norman hedgerows drank fuel refined in Texas, shipped under American flags. Montgomery rarely spoke of this aloud. Yet his staff understood, logistics now ruled strategy. The old imperial confidence faded quietly, replaced by spreadsheets and tonnage reports, reviewed nightly by candlelight. On paper, Britain still commanded armies. In reality, America sustained them. This dependency shaped Montgomery's cautious tempo, drawing criticism from Patton, whose supplies flowed freely. The tension between speed and survival grew sharper with every mile inland. Victory demanded patience, restraint, and trust in an ally whose power now eclipsed Britain's own. As Normandy expanded, the illusion of equality thinned under the weight of numbers and necessity. Montgomery advanced slowly, not from fear, but from understanding that without American supply, Britain could not advance at all. By 8 June 1944, the bocage closed around British units, slowing armor, magnifying supply strain. Montgomery studied casualty lists nightly, seeing veterans irreplaceable, knowing factories at home could not replace them. In Washington, planners tracked tonnage daily, balancing Pacific demands against Europe's insatiable hunger. Britain's requests grew cautious and coded, phrased as cooperation. masking dependence, pride still raw. Churchill warned cabinets privately that leverage was slipping. That survival now meant concession. American generals sensed this imbalance clearly, offering aid generously, expecting influence inevitably. Montgomery clashed with Eisenhower, politely pressing British priorities while accepting American terms. Each conference tightened invisible strings, shaping operations, tempo, and risk. On muddy lanes near Cannes, British troops waited, engines idling, fuel rationed. Across the line, American units surged faster, resupplied abundantly, reinforcing perceptions and resentments. Montgomery absorbed criticism silently, shielding men from attrition, trading speed for endurance. This calculus was born of scarcity, not timidity, shaped by American supply schedules. British pride inched backward, as autonomy waned mile by mile. As summer deepened, Montgomery knew victories ahead would still arrive, stamped American. By 12 June 1944, pressure mounted around Cannes, expectations rising, patience draining from the Allies. Montgomery felt it in every briefing, where American confidence surged and British caution drew sharp glances. Churchill visited Normandy briefly, smiling for cameras, while privately counting weeks before Britain's credit might vanish. Lend-Lease kept the war alive for Britain, trucks, tanks, food, fuel, arriving without invoices, yet not without cost. Each shipment tightened American influence, shaping strategy, tempo, and command relationships. Montgomery requested air support carefully, aware bombers came from American-run bases, flown by American crews. The old imperial hierarchy faded, replaced by coalition mathematics, measured in tonnage and sorties. British officers spoke of tradition and experience. Americans spoke of production curves and delivery schedules. Both were right, yet only one paid the bills. On the ground, British infantry paid in blood, holding lines methodically, absorbing German counterblows. Their resilience bought time for American buildup, for the hammer still forming. Montgomery accepted this role reluctantly, shield rather than spear, shaped by supply realities. In London, newspapers praised British leadership, hiding the quiet truth of borrowed power. Churchill feared morale more than facts, knowing revelation could fracture unity at home. So dependency remained unspoken, folded into speeches and smiles. As Cannes smoldered under bombardment, the alliance hardened, unequal, yet unbreakable. Montgomery prepared for the next phase, aware his army's strength rested on another nation's factories. By 18 June 1944, storms lashed the Channel, tearing Mulberry apart, exposing the invasion's fragility. Montgomery watched the seas rage helplessly, knowing American engineers worked non-stop to salvage supply flow. Without those harbors, British logistics teetered, and fuel stocks dipped dangerously low. The weather reminded everyone how fragile the invasion truly was. Churchill cabled Roosevelt urgently. Language softened by friendship, sharpened by necessity. American ports adjusted instantly, rerouting convoys, proof of industrial flexibility Britain lacked. Montgomery delayed offensives again, criticized loudly, yet preserving strength for the longer war. Each delay fueled Patton's frustration, contrasting British restraint with American aggression. Behind the scenes, supply officers confirmed the truth: British stocks could not sustain a breakout. This imbalance reshaped coalition command, granting Americans louder voices in planning rooms. Montgomery sensed his influence narrowing, yet accepted it to keep men alive. Pride bent before arithmetic. Empire bowed before logistics. British soldiers dug in, rain-soaked trenches trusting leadership unseen. They did not know their fate was tied to factories across an ocean. The storm passed, but dependency remained, clearer than ever. As supplies stabilized, momentum returned, carried not by flags, but by tonnages. By 20 June 1944, the skies cleared, and American convoys surged toward Normandy ports. Montgomery studied fresh reports quietly, noting fuel ratios still tight despite visible abundance. Operation Epsom loomed ahead. designed to fix German armor while Americans built strength inland. This was Montgomery's methodical bargain: spend British blood carefully, buy time deliberately. American depots expanded rapidly. Pipelines snaked across fields. Trucks multiplied endlessly. British units advanced yard by yard, holding German attention, absorbing punishment stoically. Churchill followed updates anxiously, aware Parliament sensed delay, danger growing. He could not admit publicly that Britain fought on credit, borrowed power, alone. American commanders watched patiently, recognizing British caution as strategic necessity. Eisenhower balanced egos carefully, shielding Montgomery politically, while accelerating buildup relentlessly. The alliance matured under strain, shaped by numbers, not rhetoric, realities alone. British pride bent further as American strength became decisive and unavoidable everywhere. Montgomery accepted this quietly, focusing on survival and future leverage. He knew breakthroughs would come when Americans struck south decisively. Until then, Britain held firm, anchoring the line, paying costs daily. This quiet sacrifice went largely unseen, beyond briefings, communiques, and reports alone. The war machine accelerated steadily. Powered by American industry, momentum building. Montgomery waited for the shift, knowing dependence would peak soon, irrevocably. That moment approached quietly, carried on American trucks, engines rumbling. By 25 June 1944, the ground war settled into a brutal rhythm, attrition tightening its grip. Montgomery sensed the pivot coming, feeling pressure ease as American stockpiles reached critical mass. Operation Charnwood shattered Cannes' northern edge. The city burned, civilians fled, and symbolism cracked. British troops paid dearly, street by street, trading lives for position, time, leverage. Behind them, American air power roared overhead, waves unending, reshaping battlefields from above. This imbalance was no longer subtle, it was visible, audible, overwhelming. Churchill watched reports from Downing Street, pride clashing with relief, as numbers finally favored the Allies. American generals prepared Operation Cobra quietly, guarding secrecy, knowing breakout depended on mass supply. Montgomery understood his role diminishing, becoming anchor rather than engine, stabilizer not spearhead. He accepted it outwardly, though privately, the shift stung deeply. British officers whispered comparisons, patent speed versus Montgomery's caution, unfair, yet persistent. Few acknowledged the truth: speed followed surplus, and surplus followed factories. The alliance advanced unevenly, yet inevitably, pulled forward by American momentum. British soldiers continued to hold, bleed, and endure, their contribution essential, but overshadowed. This was coalition warfare at its hardest, victory shared, credit contested. As June burned on, Montgomery sensed history turning, not with speeches, but with supply curves. What followed would reshape Europe, and redefine Britain's place within it. By 1 July 1944, the American buildup reached a tipping point, visible even to infantrymen. Columns of trucks rolled endlessly, engines humming, dust rising, abundance unmistakable. Montgomery toured the lines quietly, observing contrasts, British rationing beside American excess. Operation Cobra neared execution, its success mathematically assured. By supply alone. Churchill sensed the shift fully now, Britain no longer steering events, but contributing bravely. Public rhetoric still spoke of partnership, yet private cables acknowledged imbalance clearly. Montgomery adjusted plans subtly, preparing British forces to exploit breakthroughs, not initiate them. This was realism born of experience, not surrender. Adaptation, not defeat. American air forces massed unprecedented power, dwarfing earlier efforts, changing warfare itself. British cities had endured the Blitz. Now Germany would feel industrial war's full weight. In Normandy fields, British troops braced, holding flanks, securing corridors. They understood instinctively something larger was coming, unstoppable, decisive. Montgomery focused on minimizing losses, knowing replacements were scarce, futures fragile. The alliance now operated on American tempo, British rhythm subordinated. This reality carried quiet bitterness, softened by certainty of victory. As July heat settled, engines idled, crews waited, destiny timed to logistics. The war's next phase would move fast, brutally, and Britain would follow. Montgomery stood ready, aware history would judge caution harshly. Context rarely remembered. Behind every mile gained lay American fuel, steel, and numbers. The dependency Churchill once had now powered the march to Paris. By 25 July 1944. Operation Cobra erupted, thunder rolling across Normandy, lines collapsing fast. American bombers shattered German positions on a scale unseen. Ground trembling, resistance dissolving. Montgomery watched reports arrive hourly. Knowing this was the moment dependence became destiny. British forces pivoted quickly, securing flanks, containing counterattacks, enabling the breakout. This supporting role was vital, yet invisible. Overshadowed by speed and spectacle, Patton surged forward relentlessly. Armor fueled endlessly, momentum fed by limitless supply. Montgomery's caution suddenly looked prophetic. His restraint had bought time for this avalanche. Churchill absorbed news with mixed emotion. Relief tempered by awareness, Britain no longer led. In London streets, cheers erupted. Yet few understood whose factories had won the day. British soldiers advanced too, but measured, preserving strength, conserving what little remained. Coalition command now tilted unmistakably. Americans set pace, priorities, and horizons. Montgomery adapted professionally, coordinating movements precisely, ensuring cohesion held. His authority remained respected, though diminished, power shifting without ceremony. The war accelerated violently. Germany reeling, fronts stretching thin. Collapse beginning. Behind every mile gained, logistics ruled, fuel depots deciding futures. Britain's contribution stayed essential, experience anchoring ambition, discipline tempering speed. Yet the narrative forming already cast Americans as liberators, British as followers. Montgomery knew history would simplify, forgetting shortages, sacrifices, silent compromises. As summer burned on, victory seemed certain, but pride lay bruised. The hidden dependency Churchill masked now defined the endgame. Europe would be freed, but Britain's standing, forever altered. By 15 August 1944. Allied armies raced across France, speed rewriting the map daily. Montgomery followed the advance from command vehicles, watching distances collapse, resistance crumble, supply lines stretch. American columns dominated roads, fuel tankers leading, infantry riding, momentum unstoppable. British units advanced steadily behind, securing ports, bridges, flanks, ensuring the surge endured. Churchill toured liberated cities later, waving to crowds, smiling broadly, masking private reckoning. He knew Britain had survived the war, but not unchanged. Its supremacy quietly surrendered. Montgomery felt this truth most sharply, praised publicly, questioned privately, judged by outcomes alone. History would remember victories, not spreadsheets, speeches, not supply ratios. Yet without American industry, none of it would have happened. The dependency once hidden became the foundation of Allied triumph. Britain had traded autonomy for survival, leadership for victory. This bargain saved Europe, but reshaped power permanently. Montgomery returned home respected, but aware something irretrievable had passed. Churchill faced elections soon, war won abroad, uncertainty at home. The world emerged reordered, America ascendant. Britain diminished, yet proud. The alliance endured, forged by necessity, tested by imbalance. In the end, tanks stopped not for lack of courage, but fuel. Empires fell not to armies alone, but arithmetic. And the war Britain helped begin, America helped finish.